My name is Ethan Cole, and I used to believe in predictability. I'm 40 now, a financial analyst living in Denver, Colorado. Life was always a matter of calculated risks, numbers adding up in neat rows, and outcomes you could see coming like a freight train in the distance. Until I met the Myers twins. Lena and Laurel Myers were everything I wasn't: spontaneous, magnetic, unpredictable. Identical twins with eyes like liquid onyx and a penchant for chaos. I met Lena first at a networking fundraiser. She was working the room with a glass of white wine in hand and a smile that dared you to come closer. I never had a chance. We started dating within a week. She was loud where I was quiet, impulsive where I was cautious. She'd drag me to rooftop concerts on weeknights, text me strange philosophical questions at 2 a.m., and disappear for a day only to show up at my door with Thai food and no explanation. Sorry, she'd say, eyes dancing. Had to reset the universe a bit. I didn't mind. Not at first. One Sunday, 3 months in, I showed up at her apartment unannounced. She opened the door in a loose gray hoodie, her hair tied differently, her manner just slightly off. Still warm, still kind, but a step to the left of the Lena I knew. She called me Ethan instead of E. Didn't remember our inside joke about orange Tic Tacs, and offered me tea when she knew I hated it. I stared at her across the couch for nearly 10 minutes before I spoke. "You're not Lena," I said quietly. She blinked. Then she smiled. "No, I'm Laurel." My heart raced. "You're what?" "Her sister. Twin sister. She's out of town this weekend. Asked me to feed her cat. You weren't supposed to come by until Tuesday." I stood, confused, a dozen thoughts crashing into each other. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't she? Laurel shrugged. She thought it would be funny. Said you'd never notice. She grinned. Guess she was wrong. I should have walked out then. Should have been furious. But instead, I sat back down. Something about the way Laurel looked at me, calm, collected, maybe even more grounded than Lena, made me pause. She didn't flirt. She just talked. And listened. That night we played cards. Talked music. Watched a film from the 70s that Lena would have called grandpa trash. And when I left, I couldn't stop thinking about her. Lena didn't mention the switch. Not once. When I saw her next, she picked up as if nothing had happened. I waited for her to crack a joke about it, to ask if I noticed, but she didn't. And I didn't bring it up. Something shifted after that. Maybe in me. A few weeks later, it happened again. I'd been invited to a cabin weekend with Lena and some of her friends. When I arrived, she ran up to hug me like usual, but her scent was different. Her laugh a little deeper. Her touch more deliberate. She looked at me as if to ask if I knew. I didn't say anything. I never said no. And that became our thing. They never told me when it happened. But I always knew. Lena had a scar on her left elbow. Laurel didn't. Lena cursed like a sailor. Laurel was precise with words. One used mint toothpaste. The other preferred cinnamon. It became a strange dance. A silent agreement. They'd switch without warning, and I'd pretend I didn't know. Until they made it obvious. Sometimes Lena would disappear for a week, and Laurel would fill the space, sharing music, talking books, or just lie beside me in a different kind of silence. At first, I wondered if it was a test, or a game, but it never felt cruel. It felt like an invitation. Eventually, I stopped asking why. One rainy Thursday, after nearly a year of this confusing triangle, I sat on the edge of the bed while Laurel, definitely Laurel, tied her hair into a bun. "Does this ever feel wrong to you?" I asked. She looked over her shoulder. "Wrong. Like I'm cheating, or being cheated on. Or maybe I'm just a coward who's afraid to draw lines." She gave a soft smile. "You never said no." I never said yes either. "Sometimes silence is the answer," she whispered. I didn't sleep that night. It came to a head at a gallery showing in downtown Denver. Lena had just sold a mixed media piece she'd been working on for months. She was radiant, wild, electric, and then Laurel appeared in the crowd, sipping wine, watching us. I watched them both, mirror images, one painted in passion, the other in poise. Lena came up beside me. She knows you love her more. I froze. What? You think I didn't notice? I've seen how you soften around her. You never ask questions when she shows up. You only ever do with me. I don't. You do, she said, her voice tight. But it's okay. Lena, She was mine first, Lena whispered. But you're hers now, and I'm done switching. That night, Laurel didn't come by. Neither did the next. 3 weeks later, I stood in front of their childhood home. Laurel opened the door, surprised but unsurprised. She let me in. I never asked you to choose, she said after a long silence. I know, I said, but now I need to. I took a breath. Then I choose you. She nodded slowly. And Lena? She was a storm. But you're the sky after. Years later, people still ask how I met my wife. I always laugh, sip my coffee, and say, it's complicated. Because sometimes love doesn't walk in a straight line. Sometimes it switches without warning. And sometimes not saying no is the most honest answer of all. Laurel and I took things slow after that. Deliberately slow. We didn't talk about Lena much, except when memories came naturally. She eventually moved to New York, started her own gallery, and cut off contact with both of us. For a long time, I wondered if I should have done things differently, if I should have drawn a line sooner, if I had hurt her more than she let on. But then, one crisp autumn morning, as Laurel and I sat on the porch of our new home, wrapped in blankets with mugs of coffee warming our hands, she turned to me and said she knew what she was doing. We all did. That was the closure I didn't know I needed. Now, years later, we have a daughter, Lena Grace. A name chosen not from guilt, but from gratitude. A name that reminds us of how wildly unpredictable, painfully honest, and strangely beautiful life can be. And sometimes when Laurel smiles at me from across the room, I still see both sisters in her. Not because I'm confused, but because that story shaped us. They switched without warning. And I never said no. But in the end, I didn't have to, because fate said yes for me.